Yay.
I
Okay.
can hear you just fine. Yeah.
Okay. Now I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. I love two-way conversations.
How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. I very close to where you are.
You are?
When I moved to San Diego like a year ago, I thought for sure I'd be going to Palm Springs all the time. I thought for sure I'd be stopping in LA. I've gone to Palm Springs once and LA once in a year. So close, but so far.
Right?
So how are you doing?
I'm good. It's a balmy 104 degrees here today.
Yeah. And I think some of my decisions to not go to Palm Springs this past summer was it was really hot here in San Diego. And I thought and looked in Palm Springs weather and I'm like, it's 117 in Palm Springs. What would I do besides go to a pool party? Visit art galleries,
See?
AC art galleries.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'll do like a official introduction. See, here we have James Bacchi. Is that pronounced right? Bacchi or
Yes.
Bacchi? James
Bocce.
Bacchi, consultant, curator, collaborator, and you're also an artist yourself?
I am a photographer.
Yes, I knew that, but when I was doing my research this morning, I never saw like I don't think I saw that you called yourself an artist ever, and I was like, oh, I have to ask him because I've seen your photographs and I quite like them, mostly
Thank you.
black and white.
There, yeah.
Or am I wrong?
Um, I started this series called In the Sky back in 2015. And it's all about capturing the tension from the ground up.
Okay, I like that. I
Yeah.
remember seeing under bridges or
Yeah. All sorts of different cities as muses. So I have In the Sky New York, San Francisco, LA, um, Budapest, Paris, Rome, Venice, and of course now Palm Springs.
I absolutely love that. I also want to say congratulations because I hear you're celebrating 40 years of working in the art business.
Yeah.
Yay!
it's yeah, it's kind of been a year of like kind of looking back at all of it and going, wow, you did that. Yes, you
yeah,
did that.
sometimes social media and other types of things before social media are nice having those memories of looking back because there's life happens so fast and everything just get piled and piled on and piled on and keeps going
Yeah.
forward and then sometimes you look back and you're like I like you just said I did that. Good for good
That was
good
me.
on me.
All of that, yeah.
But 40 years later, have you ever gotten to a point where you feel like I made it? To whatever that means, it could be a personal
Hmm.
thing. Like I made it to like a goal or a goalpost or a point.
I guess in the sense just that I mean, being in the art business is definitely challenging. You have these very high points and very low points, which depends on all sorts of things from the economy to more the economy, I guess, than anything else. Like I remember, back in 2019, that was probably the worst in the 40 years
Oh,
when
geez.
everything just sort of crashed and
Buying
um,
artwork wasn't a luxury that people were still, they were probably putting on hold, right?
yeah. Um,
Or redesigning
and
spaces
at the
or,
time, I co-owned Art House with Annette Schutz, and it was a lot of back and forth. Do we give it all up? What do we do? And we just decided to forge on, and so happy that we did. And then came the pandemic, and that sort of was equally bizarre, but in a very
sure.
different way.
Well, the pandemic also, like, I think people had like a spending pause as well, but I know the pandemic also really inspired a lot of people to create artwork. So it was sort of a weird
Well, and
time.
oddly enough, 2020 was probably the second best year
Hmm.
financially for art house because we found, you know, anyone who was not financially affected by the pandemic and couldn't go anywhere or pretty much do anything,
Right.
especially those people who, for the first time, were working from home,
Right.
were wanting to really spruce it up. And,
Right.
um,
Right.
I
Make
remember that year, like for us, was so great. And then for so many architects and interior designers, were saying the same thing, we're
right.
just swamped. So that
That's
that was, um, I've always, I think the other thing that's kept me going in this business for all these years is I always say, there's an upside to everything.
sure.
And for me, the upside to the pandemic was kind of twofold. It was having that great year financially, and then making the decision to not wait 5 more years, but to move to Palm Springs as fast as possible.
Right, right. So you and I have a similar trajectory. I started in New York, went to San Francisco, and now I'm in San Diego. And you started in New
Right?
York, went to San Francisco. We were in San Francisco for many of the same years, but now you're in Palm Springs. Is there one place that you feel like just feels better, feels like a better fit, or did each of
I
them
mean,
sort of
right
suit their
now,
purpose? Yeah, at the time you were
yeah, I mean,
living.
right now, I would have to say Palm Springs is a great fit.
Yeah,
It's sort of it isn't like anywhere else that I've spent, a long time. I mean, New York was 15 years and San Francisco was, like 25 years.
right.
And, I mean, both of these places, I would say aesthetically were very different, but bottom line was they were cities and they were very much cities.
Yeah, creative
New York had
places.
that crazy, crazy good energy. And those years there, like the 80s to the very early 90s, as far as the art scene was, I really feel like, people always say what goes around comes around. That time will never see a time like that.
Right. Actually, I just watched an interview of yours that you posted. It was on your website. It was the art collector. I don't remember the woman's name. But it was funny because you were talking about the 80s in New York and an installation piece that you had at Limelight or
Uh,
something, and the club was being raided. And I just watched it, and I was laughing to myself because I remember that you saying like, oh, you were given like 20 minutes to go pick up the artwork and get it out of
yeah,
there, and you were marching down the street or something.
carrying this, larger than life size gold leafed lifeguard on a pedestal. It was like all one piece. And it was
Nothing
by,
strange going on here. Yep.
right. And the beauty of it was the piece was by Adam Kurtzman and it was entirely created with paper mache. So the whole thing probably weighed less than five
But
pounds.
also delicate then, right? If it's paper, it's light, but then also delicate for like
Yeah.
water.
But I think the hilarious part of it was people seeing us walking with this
Or... yeah.
because of the finish and everything on it. It looked like metal, so it looked like it would have weighed about 500
You look like
pounds.
Herculeans. You're like,
Yes, two Hercules, he and I walking down Second Avenue carrying this piece at like 3:30 in the morning.
oh,
So of
that's
course
amazing.
people were blasting their horns and yelling
It
at
sounds like
us.
a New York moment. Yeah, for
Yeah, it was
sure.
totally that. And
Like,
that is like I would never have a moment like that here,
right, right.
in Palm Springs.
That's crazy. I also was when I was listening to the interview and watching it, like a couple different like terms kept popping up in my mind, like a gallerist versus like consultant. And there's some of the things I don't really, it's hard for me to describe the difference between like a gallerist and a consultant. How would you describe like the difference? Um,
Well, I mean, a gallerist is,
this might be
you know,
extremely obvious, but okay.
yes, and it kind of is. It's someone who has a gallery, does everything there is to do in the realm of the gallery
Like within
from,
their space, they like own the space,
yeah,
sort
you're
of.
in a space, you're
Okay,
orchestrating a space, you're doing day-to-day business, you're working with collectors, you're working with artists. Um, Most art consultants, for lack of a better term, are kind of free agents.
gotcha.
So while they may have, a small kind of group of artists that they really try to work with, art consultants go reach out all over the place sourcing art.
All right.
You
And
know,
then,
you
yeah. And
may
then there's
have,
also like versus the curator. I don't know. I was getting terms in my mind sort of like commingled and even terms that I kind of thought one was the other. And it just, that was some of the things that I picked up from that interview. I was like, oh, what's a curator
and
opposed
they
to a
do, all those
consultant?
titles sort of do or can
Lap.
commingle,
Right.
but not everybody chooses to
Right.
do them all.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Um,
I mean, for
how,
example, I came here to Palm Springs thinking I was only going to do art consulting.
right.
The last thing I wanted to do after doing it for so many years was babysit an art gallery.
Oh, yeah.
And then, I walked into this truly amazing place here called the Shops at 1345.
Okay.
And it's this conglomerate of 15 different high-end lifestyle shops. And, the shops range from furniture to clothing to, um, I mean, one of the latest incarnations there is a shop called Disco Dog, which,
Disco dog.
yes, which is
Okay.
like this every outrageous dog accessory you can possibly think
Like
of.
for your dog, not just art
Yes,
of
from
dogs.
from because we're in Palm Springs, dog booties, so
Yeah.
a dog can walk on the
The
pavement when
pavement.
it's
Right, right, right.
120 out. It's all these amazing things, vintage. Anyway, I walked in there probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 months after I moved here. And I walked in there one day, and smack in front of me was this space, and it was white walls, black floor, and track lights.
You're
And I
like,
thought,
hmm.
all I have to do here is like, grab some art and hang it on the walls. And then what I learned, which is what really made me, move forward with this, is the shops has a built-in sales force.
Oh,
So I don't have to be there.
oh. This sounds like sort of it was meant to be,
Well, it was, and it was kind of like, wow. I mean, talk about something just fantastic presenting itself.
right? And it's a good fit for the other shops.
Yes, I'm
And
the
so,
only art gallery in
all
there.
right,
So
that's
it's
that's
fun.
crazy. Yeah,
And I
I was,
really, really enjoy,
I'll have to
uh, you
visit it.
know,
I when I come visit for sure.
you have to. And I mean, the difference between being in a place like that and, a standalone gallery somewhere else is there's, traffic in
Like
this
foot
place
traffic. Yeah,
all day long. It's a real destination here. They've
right.
been here for 11 years. So it's a really it's a very um, fabulous business model these guys put together.
Great. Being in Palm Springs, are there artists in Palm Springs that you work with, or are most of the artists or people you work with other regions or
Most of
places
the artists are people I've worked with since, back in the day in New York
that you trust and you know your sort of
that,
vision?
are just these amazing relationships. New
Yeah.
York, the ones from the Bay Area, and most recently, this artist photographer Astrid, who I've represented since the New York days past. She was in her late 80s, and now I represent her estate, which is
Mm,
like a really big deal. And I
sure.
just love that I'm able to do this.
That's probably something that keeps sort of challenging yourself to like managing an estate, unless you've done that before. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of
This was
things
the
you have to
first.
learn.
I mean, it's in managing the estate is I am the sole representative
Right.
of her work, and it's actually not a lot of pieces
Hmm.
because I would say in the 2 years before her death, she was based in Milan, and she had such an incredible inventory of work, and she donated all the work that she had in Italy to hospitals, mentally challenged facilities,
Mm.
anywhere where she felt her work would be appreciated.
Oh, that's really cool
Yeah, so the
that she
whole,
could pick where her
it's
art
just a
lives.
really nice kind
Yeah.
of
All right.
situation.
It's interesting the world because I mean, just covering art and artists myself over the years, there's lots of like there's like highbrow art, and I feel like there's like street art. You know, most of the people I
Yes.
deal with are like struggling, like poor artists. But it sounds like some. I just wonder how the worlds come together ever or collide. You know, it's like I feel like a lot of the artists you might represent. Um, are more
Well,
highbrow.
it's
Is
interesting
highbrow a
you
bad word? I think highbrow
no, not
may
at all, but
sound
it's interesting you kind of bring that up because having been doing this for so long, there were artists that I, gave their first show to in New
mm,
York who here we are, 40 years later, and they're like superstars.
right.
So everyone starts somewhere.
Yeah.
And at that time, these people were totally struggling
Right.
kids,
Right.
you know?
That's got to be sort of amazing just to help someone get started and found and just recognizing something in an artist and seeing like, oh, I'm going to invest my time and some effort into this
Yeah.
person. Um, how do you end up finding new artists? Is it through like social
I
media, or do
really,
people come to you?
it's so rare and far
Right.
and few between these days
Okay.
because of these kind of great relationships.
Right. Right.
Um, since I moved here, I've taken on a few Bay Area artists that I didn't represent when I was
Sure.
there. And I would say I've only taken on one, Palm Springs based artist, Jay Sammet, who
Okay.
does these almost Liechtenstein type pieces, but would kind of blew me away about his work. It's interesting because someone who wrote an article about me asked me if I would look at his work. And I did. And when I first saw it, I thought, I think these are like entertaining because, they have the thought bubbles with the text and all of
Okay.
that.
Right. Like
Uh,
multi-layered sort of sensory.
yeah. Like he did this great piece of Batman and Robin, and the thought bubble is above Robin. And it says, Bruce, I can't be a boy forever. So,
mm,
that did it for me. But
yeah.
what really did it for me was learning that I thought these were prints. His work is all original
Oh wow.
watercolors, and they're brilliant. I mean, they're so meticulously executed because watercolor is a medium that is
Yeah.
just not forgiving at all.
Yeah. I actually, yeah,
So,
oh, that's so true. Watercolor's tricky. I actually, a lot of people don't know that I was right out of high school because I was one of those little art kids in high school, and I just hung out in the art room all years in high school, and I did AP art my senior year, and then I got all these art awards my senior year, and I got full scholarship to Cooper Union,
no
Savannah Art
way.
School.
Did you go?
I'm tooting my horn. I always have my eye in San Francisco, and I also got accepted to the San Francisco Art Institute and the Art Academy of San Francisco. But here's the sad noise. I never ended up being able to financially figure out how to afford it, and then life just happened and I never went. Isn't that isn't yeah, and it's
Wow.
sort of like, and everybody who knows me from like high school and under was just like they knew me as the kid that was doing art all the time. I mean, I lived, breathed art. I have like stacks and stacks of books that I was already creating stuff and scrapbooking and drawing and writing and painting because I did lots of really abstract, like expressionistic portraits of people and self portraits and but yeah, so I dabbled in watercolors, but I was like, God, that's difficult. Acrylic was much more my friend because I could just like pile it on and get textures and dimension. Yeah, and I just really hadn't. Every once in a while, I get in a mood and I'll get art supplies and I'll do a bunch of stuff and then I'll not do art again for a couple years. But it's sort of in me.
I
I
love
just
that.
I haven't been inspired for a while, but like I don't know why I told you that story, but enough about me. And also, I saw or read you're launching something called Meta Contemporary, which is in 2025 to the Metaverse. What is that?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, it's a pretty exciting project. Again, it's all in the metaverse. And
Okay,
have you been?
I've not.
You've never been to the metaverse? Seriously.
Nope.
Come on.
I know what's wrong with me. I'm becoming an old person, out of touch.
Well, I never thought I'd be going either, but the beauty of it is you don't have to go anywhere to go there. So I kind of
That's like the
love it.
sound bite. That's the perfect
Yes.
sound bite. You don't have to go anywhere to go there.
So I love that aspect of it.
Right.
Um, but right now, it's almost like all these crazy things are happening there. Everything from um, who was it? Car companies are like launching their new lines in the metaverse.
Right, right.
Fashion companies are having fashion shows in the metaverse. Um, it's just, people are creating all these different. There's a company called Spatial who creates spaces in the metaverse. In fact, they've created Meta Contemporary, which is
Wow.
a collaborative project I'm doing with Suse Green, who is
Okay.
this amazing woman. She's a, New York Times #1 best-selling author. She's a singer, songwriter, musician. She was the last Supreme,
Oh,
which is crazy.
yeah. That is. I mean, she
And
was blessed all around. Like some
yeah,
people
I mean,
have one
just
of those talents, but then to be able to do all that.
yes. And she's also a digital artist.
Okay.
So we're launching this kind of platform, which is a what we're calling a safe space in the metaverse for art and events. And it will have a built-in auction platform
Right.
so that each project we do will benefit a related kind of nonprofit organization.
Does it ever become actual physical art in the real world that can be like
Well,
picked
all
up
of
and put on
the
a
well
wall?
in the world, in the real world. So the first thing that we're going to do is a two-person exhibition of my photography and her photography,
Okay.
and the pieces in the show will be offered, as an addition on actual photographs that you can
Okay.
pick up,
Gotcha.
purchase, frame, and hang on your wall in the real world. And then everything will be offered as an NFT
Okay.
in that world.
That's so funny. I just remember, I can't remember what movie it was where people were just, they lived in these like chairs and their whole entire world existed in their mind.
Yes.
And this feels like that's where we're going to. Like, yeah, the whole entire world, our physical world is just all going to be up here. Everything we own is going to be.
Yeah.
not in the real
It's really
world.
pretty interesting.
Okay.
So we're having a whole lot of fun with this.
Yeah, that's fun. It seems like the art world moves and changes and reinvents itself, and then keeps coming up with new things. It's sort of amazing how we can still come up with new things to
Yeah.
sort of and jump on board. And like
Well, I
feel like
mean, Christie's and Sotheby's are holding auctions in the metaverse.
Jesus Christ, I gotta hang up and get on this metaverse ASAP.
Google Metaverse.
Yeah, I know of it. I just have not partook in it. It's just sometimes I'm just like another thing. But I mean, I feel like I need to, if I want to stay in the know, I got to get in the metaverse.
Well, and it's crazy because what's hard for me is I don't like technology. Like,
Right.
I needed help just getting to
Oh,
this.
sure. It's
And
amazing that
that's
we're talking to each other. Yeah.
it is. It's truly amazing. But when you see some of the things that are out there and just to kind of experience it on my little level is really fun because, in the metaverse, you're an avatar and
Right.
you go into these spaces, your avatar does, and you're seeing art, you're meeting people,
Right.
there are events going on, there are conferences going on, but you
Sure.
don't have to go anywhere.
I love
So
the idea. I keep thinking of
there's
dating.
something.
I keep thinking of like people dating, like dating
Yes, you
in the
can date in the
metaverse.
metaverse, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I just keep my mind's always in the gutter, so I'm like
Of
dating,
course it
hooking
is.
up.
It was funny because before, we got on, I remember back in the day, you and I have been like, I don't know, somehow metaphysically connected,
Yeah, I feel the
you
same
know,
way.
in social media, but I don't think we have ever physically met.
We
So then
have. I have a
we
picture
have.
of it, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think once in probably like 2010, 11,
Okay.
I came down to your gallery because I remember
You did. No, yes, yes,
I only
yes.
say because
I
I think
remember.
I had a Facebook memory pop up and I was like, oh, who are
I
those
loved it.
who are those children?
Right? Yes. Crazy.
Yeah.
Um, but like when we knew we were going to do this today,
Yeah.
one of the memories that kept hitting me because we have
Right.
watched each other, for
Right.
so many years was my favorite thing that you used to do. I don't know if you still do it, were those bathtub
Oh, right,
interviews.
right.
I
They
just thought that I loved them.
That was so funny because I don't do them anymore. I mean I sort of gave all of this a break for about 8 years, and that's how now I'm a zookeeper. I work
Yes, and
okay, so I kind of gave it all up, and I've really kept the world separate because the worlds didn't really cross over. But it's funny, I've seen other people doing bathtub interviews. A friend of mine in New York started doing them as well, and it's funny. He called and asked me for permission, and I'm like, I don't own the bathtub interviews, for sure do it, have fun with it. He loved the idea. And I've seen other people sort of doing there's these total bros that like hang out and bro in the bathtub together and they just talk and gossip, but it's like there's
yeah,
like straight
it was
bros
such a
hanging
great
out.
idea because
It
it was
was
so
sort of
disarming.
it was fun. It was lots of fun. And then I just was like, I just gave sort of this whole world a break for a minute because I just was not, I was giving more than I felt like I was receiving and running, even like with the running of the website and stuff like that. And because I was never able to like really monetize things. But I was
Uh-huh.
putting hours and hours and hours of day into it. And I know some people who have been really good at monetizing things. I'm really the idea guy, but like making it or making a living from it, I never sort of, it never came to fruition. So yeah, then I found good, honest work, and now I pick up animal shit.
So, are you at the San Diego Zoo?
I was at the San Diego Zoo itself, but now I'm out of the safari park in Escondido. I'm currently taking
Okay.
care of all the big cats, the lions and tigers and gorillas.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's. Uh, I wish I actually, I wish I had. I always say I wish I figured this out 20 years ago. It's what I wanted to do, but there's nothing else I want to do.
But you're doing it now, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
really,
um,
great.
yeah. So what is next? New York, San Francisco, Palm Springs. Is Palm Springs like the the
The end
finish
all?
line?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Or are you so filthy rich you can just buy homes in like
Yeah,
Spain and
I wish.
Waikiki?
But I must admit, I do look at those, those ads on the um, Instagram, like buy a house in Italy for only
Uh,
320
right,
euro. And, they show the pictures of it, and it's like 100 years old, but it has a swimming pool. And, you know, I think, well, it's probably in the mountains or
something
somewhere. And
you have to
I
ride a
can't,
donkey up a hill to get
I
there.
can't do that. I have to, you know, the funny thing in Palm Springs is you pretty much drive everywhere.
Right,
But the beauty of it is I can get anywhere in Palm Springs in less than 10 minutes.
right, right,
And every place you go has a parking lot, and no place you have to pay to park.
right. And like Palm Springs itself, it's this kind of goes right into my. It was like going to be like a segment saying why Palm Springs. What's the appeal? Because so many gay men I know run or ending up in Palm Springs, going to Palm Springs, wanting to go to Palm Springs, and so this kind of goes right into the a question I had for later, like the appeal of Palm Springs. And I have to say, like I don't have bad feelings about Palm Springs, but I've never really felt this like strong connection. So I don't know if it's because I've not visited the right places, I haven't done the right things, but so many good friends from all across the country are just flocking to Palm Springs.
Well, it's really evolving here. Uh, um, what's interesting is my husband went to high school here.
Okay.
And back then, he said, there was just nothing happening here. You
Right.
couldn't get a decent cup of coffee. And if you wanted to go to a restaurant, your choice was a diner or a steakhouse. And that was pretty much it.
Right.
And like now, I mean, Palm Springs has become a real foodie town, some really amazing restaurants here. We actually have a very, very good museum. The Palm Springs Art Museum
Okay.
is so well supported. Um,
What is the
the
film festival
gallery
that comes
scene,
there?
say that again.
What is the famous film festival that comes there? Maybe there's multiple ones, but I know the
Well, there's
is the gay and lesbian.
that, and that was just recently here. And
Okay.
then we have Modernism Week,
Okay.
which, people from all over the world flock to because it's just the best of modernism.
The
And there's
friends of mine.
architecture tours
Okay.
because there's such amazing,
The
mid-century
modernism stuff.
architecture
Yeah, the
here.
friends of mine, they used to run a company called Modern Bears. Um,
Of course.
but they're there and they own a store, and I have gone blank. But they're there, and it's their store is modern, modern furniture, modern art.
There
Um,
actually is a bear scene here.
yeah.
There, I mean, when we first moved here, there was a motel called the Bear Motel, but they've
How
since
funny.
closed. So I
Did it turn
guess,
into
I
the
don't know.
Trixie Motel? I just know I've seen a lot about the Trixie
Tr-
Motel, which I've never
Yes,
been to. But
yes.
I love to visit. But like, I love Trixie Motel, and I totally want to visit her hotel. But I'm usually like a really thrifty traveler, so I'm like, I bet the Trixie Motel might be a little bit out of my price range, or maybe not.
I wouldn't think it's that expensive. I mean, it's not billing itself as that.
Right,
So
like a fancy boutique.
yeah, and there's plenty of that here too.
That's just the funny. Yeah, I wrote down like, what is the appeal? Is it the weather? Is it the pool parties? Um, the Palm Springs, and also is there like a large support for like the aging community as well there too? That must be part of it, since you have like a larger
It's a
community of
lot
like,
of things. I mean, as far as people think this is the last stop,
right,
but
right. I mean, is it where young men
there's
come to
so
find daddies? No, I'm just kidding.
well. I mean, there's part of that, but the other part of it is there's all these 30 and 40 something success stories from LA, from
Mm,
San Francisco, who have second homes here.
right.
So more so LA, I would say, than San Francisco.
Sure.
But so many of these guys come here every weekend.
Right. That's
So
interesting. Yeah.
it
I know
isn't,
it's like the surrounding areas too, right? Because I know it's Palm Springs itself, but then I know a lot of areas sort of surrounding Palm Springs also are really
there's like
popular for some of
Cathedral
my,
City
yeah.
and Rancho Mirage and
And when
Palm
people
Desert,
refer to high desert, what does
like
that mean?
Joshua Tree.
Okay. My
That's,
friend
yeah,
Aaron Smith has a gallery there called Hey There Gallery. It's in the high desert.
okay.
Um, and they really love it up there.
I've been there once to
To
the
the,
hike.
okay.
Yeah, and it was,
Yeah.
it was pretty, it's quite beautiful, but I wouldn't want to live there.
Gotcha. What do you do to beat the heat? Like, did you stay
Um,
there through the summer? Another friend of mine,
Pretty
Bob, has a
much.
house there, but he spends the hot summer months in San Francisco.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have that opportunity.
Sure.
So, you just, as far as when it gets really hot, you sort of live accordingly. I go swimming every morning,
Okay.
regardless of the weather. But when it's really hot, I just go earlier, like
Right.
at 6 instead of
Swimming by
8.
moonlight. Yeah. I just
And
saw a painting when we said swimming by moonlight. I just saw you skinny dipping. Sorry, not in an X-rated way. And
no, you didn't.
I just saw your skinny dipping in the moonlight, swimming. Your moon sticking out of the water. Sorry if the husband's listening. It was just a artistic, creative thought I had.
Well, you know what the good thing about that is? You're the only one who would have that thought.
I'm dirty in and out. Speaking of dirty in and out, when is Palm Springs Pride? Isn't it still coming up? I remember it was like the one of the last ones to happen.
I want to say it already happened. No,
Oh,
I guess it hasn't. So
I
it's
just
probably maybe October or
I went
November.
once because I remember when my website was kind of doing a lot more promoting events and stuff like that, and I went to it, and I remember it was just like after I thought all the other prides around the country were done, and then all of a sudden Palm Springs is still happening. I thought it was like in October almost. Well,
It probably is because then it would be like maybe 80,
right.
degrees. So people aren't going to be passing out on the street.
Yeah.
Well, they do, but not as many.
Yeah, I gotcha. So as far as like artwork, a lot of art I see from self-identified like gay men is always erotic artwork.
Hmm.
I don't even have a full thought out thought. I was just thinking, but a lot of the artwork that I repost and share is always sort of like erotic artwork. Do you see like a large percentage of gay men producing erotic artwork opposed to just non-erotic artwork?
Um,
Did that even come out like a
what I
question?
see is mostly, believe it or not, there's a small handful of artists who post on Instagram.
Right.
But here's a funny story. I used to represent an artist. His name was Kenny Mencher.
Okay.
And do you know Kenny?
I know the name.
Yes. Okay. So Kenny is a male erotic artist,
Oh,
and he used to not do that type of artwork. He
right.
used to do this kind of, in fact, I own a few of those pieces. They're these juxtaposed images, always figurative, but almost like a narrative of something going on, like um, a husband sitting at a table on the phone and a wife like overhearing or trying to
Oh,
overhear what's going on in the background. And of course, there'd be another guy somewhere in the painting.
oh,
So they kind of evolved from what sort of seemed like, kind of paintings
right. What
to,
is happening here?
yes, what's happening here? And now, lots of paintings of bears.
Oh, funny. He's still doing painting of bears,
Oh, yeah.
and
So
he's
Google him.
just funny. I mean, why not? Why not? But my first thought is, what's his not? Why? Like, what? Just
I
a very
think, I
specific
think,
chosen
we had
subject
a
matter.
conversation once.
Like drawing little squiggly hairs on people's chests, maybe.
Yes, and bellies and,
How
I mean, the
funny.
whole cigars, all of that.
Like he's hung out. It sounds like he's hung out at like a leather bar in the shadows.
Well, he's
Like,
definitely done some kind of research. I mean, what that is, I don't know, but when you brought that up, he just immediately came to mind.
yeah, it's just something that just popped into my mind because so many of the things I repost on like social media is like things that I know people are going to either repost or like, and most of it's like drawings of guys with boners or naked
Right.
guys or just erotic, sort of playful art. And it's just funny. So when I think of like gay art, I immediately think of erotic gay art. I know some artists will post themselves in front of their paintings to grab people's attention as well. Like they'll do just abstract paintings and stuff, but then like when how they get the attention of the people is they'll just themselves will stand shirtless in front of the pictures. They're like, "Hey, look at my artwork. Look at me."
Well, again, you've got my mind going because there's another artist, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he posts almost every day. And it's their, I guess, their pencil drawings of penises,
Pencil
close
drawings of
ups.
penises. I just want that to be
Yes.
a sound bite too.
And
Okay.
they're done on like 5 by 3 cardstock.
Okay. Oh,
So when you look at them, you think, wow, these are pretty detailed and incredibly well done.
right.
And then when you read the description of them and learn how small the image is in contrast to the imagery itself,
Right.
um, you kind of go, huh,
Huh.
this is really interesting.
I think I know the artist you're
And
talking
then he
about.
usually like credits whose penis it
Right,
is.
right. I
And
I
then you
wanted to do
can
that
go on
years
that
ago.
person's Instagram and
Oh,
see what
that's
they
funny.
look
It's
like.
all about the.
So
See, I
that's
wanted to do that years ago, but I really just wanted people to send me pictures of their penis. But I was all, send me a picture of your penis and I'll draw it. Hmm. I don't know.
Well, I guess that is
That
what
is part of it.
this
It's
artist's work has been.
creating a relationship with your followers.
Yes, totally.
All right. So, what's the best place people can keep up with you, find you,
I
get
would
in
say on
touch
my
with you?
2 Instagram accounts,
Yeah,
one is at James Bacchi Contemporary, and that's all my gallery art consulting
sure.
collaborator kind of stuff. And then my photography is on Instagram at James Bacchi.
Are you working on anything specific with the photography, or are you still doing
Well, I'll tell you,
under
lately,
cage?
I've started doing these color pieces, which first time in since 2015 I've done anything with color. And I'm trying to shoot people in waiting rooms without
Oh,
them knowing I'm doing it.
oh, oh.
And I've only have about 4 done so far.
That's an interesting twist.
It is, and this is how this started. I mean, talk about aging. Um, I had an appointment with my cardiologist, and I walked into his office for the appointment, and in the waiting room was this one woman and no one else. And this must have been the day before 4th of July. And this woman was completely adorned in red, white, and blue, and anything you could possibly imagine that had to do with the flag.
Oh, geez.
Like she actually had a cane, and the cane was wrapped in red, white, and blue from bottom to top. She had jewelry on that was like the American flag. She had um,
That's crazy. I want to know her story. I'm like, is she just
yeah, I did, and she looked at me at one point. This was long after I took the photograph, and just smiled. No conversation, but the image I got of her was just really interesting. In
do you
fact,
have to get people's permission I'm only saying for like to use it
I don't think
to
so.
because it's a public space. I was just curious, like to use it anywhere else, but it is a public space.
Well, I entered it in America's favorite photo.
Oh,
And that ends tomorrow,
oh,
actually, and
okay.
I'm one of the finalists
Oh, I want to
for
know that
that
woman's story.
image.
I'm glad she smiled. Like I literally thought you were gonna like say she looked up and was like "fuck off" or something like that. So I'm glad
No,
she gave you a
and
smile.
again, in the few that I've done, the people have had no idea that I was
Yeah. Oh,
photographing.
that's the best.
And with a phone, that's pretty easy to do because
Yeah.
I can make it look like I'm just scrolling
Yeah,
and
I've done
take their
that.
picture.
I've done that at the gym before to my friends. I mean, that's like if I'm like somewhere and I'm like, this guy in front of me is making me work out for 2 hours longer just because I'm here. And my friends like, get a picture. And you're right, with phones, they are creepy. But I'm just like, it's.
But you can, yeah, right. So that's my
Ah,
like kind of new thing,
oh, that's
and
fun.
I want to sort of do a series of this.
But I want you to spend less time at the doctor's office because that means you've got something going on. So you've got to go to the doctor's office.
Yeah, it's
So,
just
so find,
routine,
okay, checkups.
you know,
Okay.
nothing bad.
All right.
The bad part's behind me. So,
Well, great. Well, I'm so glad we got a chance to catch up. Like I've been wanting to, like I've been saying meet up in person, but like I just can't get my butt to Palm Springs lately. And but when I do, I will for sure make an appointment to come
yes,
see you at the gallery and make sure you're going to be around, so I
yeah,
can say
that
hi
would
in
be a
person.
blast.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I will.
Well,
We'll talk.
thanks so much for this.
Yeah, yeah, and just keep me updated if there's anything you ever want put out there to the universe. I can have a couple of
Okay.
my people who pay
Or the
attention to me.
metaphor.
The metaverse. I'm gonna join the metaverse
Don't be
after this.
afraid.
What if I disappear completely off the face of the earth and the last thing I said was I'm gonna go find the metaverse?
Someone will find you there.
James, there's James. Hey,
It is like that.
that's right.
You go into a room and you find people you know.
That is funny. I also think if I haven't investigated it a lot, because I think I'm going to be really interested in it and find it just interesting. And I don't know if I'm ready, but maybe I am ready for the metaverse.
See that?
All right. Well, I will
Oh,
see.
you're ready for anything.
All right. Like I'll see you in the metaverse. Do you want to end like that?
Yes, or Palm Springs, one of the two.
Yeah, I'll see you in the metaverse or Palm Springs. But what if Palm Springs is just a metaverse?
It could be.
Whoa. Whoa. Okay. See you later, James.
Thanks.
Talk
Take
to you
care.
soon.
Bye bye.